Hello and welcome to IMC Charlotte. My name is Thia Powers and I'm your Dharma leader for the evening. Tonight I'd like to share with you a story from a series I'm calling Daily Life Dharma, and this one is titled Anniversary. Expect nothing. Live frugally on surprise. Alice Walker advises us wisely, and this short poem sounds like a Dharma teaching to me. Alice says, expect nothing. And the Buddha says, suffering will come if we get caught up in expectations. Alice says, live frugally. And the Buddha says, when we look for a self to adorn and have strategies for and want for more, that we will find no self there. Alice says, live on surprise. And the Buddha is reported to have said that change is the only constant, along with unsatisfactoriness and emptiness. So these teachings once again came alive for me on a recent trip to Greenville, South Carolina. For our 17th wedding anniversary, John and I wanted to explore this vibrant city that has a river that flows right through the middle of it and hike in the nearby Paris Island State Park. So we booked a riverfront room and hit the road. The 2-hour drive from Charlotte was very easy. We arrived and the hotel was beautiful, light-filled, elegant. We're right on the river. The weather is pristine and sunny with a light breeze, little clouds way up in the sky. It could not have been more perfect. So check-in was also a breeze. Nobody in the lobby, nobody in line, and we had an attentive porter that whisked us right up to our room. So far, perfection, right? Nice room. We go in, I draw back the heavy floor-to-ceiling drapes and behold the view, which is a brick wall. I call out, John, look at this view. They said this room had a great view. And he calls down to the desk and they say, oh, so sorry. And they tell us the good news that they do have a riverfront room, the one that we booked. Just come back down for the key and they'll sort everything out for us. So the porter maneuvers the giant trolley with all of our piles of stuff, mostly mine, I admit, back down to the front desk. And when the elevator door opens, we see there is now a long line of people waiting to check in. I feel kind of anxious, wondering about someone possibly getting our room. And there's nothing to do but take a deep breath and get in line. So while waiting quietly, I sensed that I had dialogue spooling out in my mind of what we should say and how we should say it, that whole plan of how to get everything straightened out. I was thinking how we just talked with them on the phone about the riverfront room and that it's our anniversary and blah, 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 blah. So finally it's our turn. We get to the front, but there is now a second person at the reception desk and we are to see her instead. And now I feel more unease because she doesn't know the story. John steps to the desk and begins to explain our plight. I watch as he talks, I watch her face, and it is seemingly unsympathetic, showing no signs of emotion. And then she says, there are no riverfront rooms available. We explain again about the conversation we just had, what was reserved, what was promised. She says, does your original receipt say riverfront room? We look. And lo and behold, we cannot find that designation. She says, so you did not book a riverfront room. I say, we did not book anything. Someone here at the hotel made this choice of this brick wall room for us 3 weeks ago while we were on the phone with you, asking for a riverfront room for our anniversary. She says very matter-of-factly, well, they made a mistake. I feel agitated. I feel my patience evaporating. John seems so calm and reasonable, and instead of admiring his composure, I'm embarrassed to report to you, I wanted him to be angry and pushy, demand that riverfront room. That's our room. I'm currently oblivious to the fact that craving has me firmly in its claws and has carried me far, far away from reason or kindness or equanimity of any sort. I'm thinking angrily, this is a special time for us. We're really nice people. We asked specifically for this. We paid for this. If only you knew, give us our room. We inquire about speaking with the manager. She is the manager. No one above her, not on site anyway. And she just looks at us. John tells her that minutes earlier, the woman standing right beside her told us that there was a riverfront room available and that they were holding it for us. No, she says, she made a mistake. I'm thinking, are mistakes the norm around here? And since that does seem to be the case, aren't you supposed to throw us a conciliatory bone, a free breakfast, maybe? She says breakfast is already free. A discount for our next stay, since we will probably never stay here again. More silence, nope, nothing. Then, I hope you enjoy your stay with us, signaling that the conversation has ended. Defeated and more than slightly disappointed, we make our way back to the original room where I slowly close the beautiful drapes. It's such a little thing, really. I have always thought that I was prepared for stuff like this. Curveballs are part of life. Things not being fair are part of life. Not getting what you want is part of life. This is what the Buddha was telling me to watch out for when he said there will be disappointment in life. And the more aversion you have to this truth, the more deeply you will suffer when it happens. And in fact, your aversion will be in direct proportion to your suffering. So, sensing the bummer energy that has kicked off the weekend, John suggests we go for a hike, just get out of the room. Greenville has great urban hikes. One is called the Swamp Rabbit Trail, all throughout the city, right along the river. And there's a wonderful state park nearby called Paris Mountain. So we put our sneakers on and head to Paris for our anniversary. In a few minutes, we're hiking over soft trails of pine needles, smelling the late spring air, hearing the geese and the children splashing in the lake. And I'm reminded that only I can choose my response to life. No one does that for me. No one can, no one ever will. When I feel trapped by circumstances not of my choosing, really the only thing I can control, and often it seems I can't do that, is my mind and my responses. We proceeded to hike all the anxiety out from the morning, meeting several happy dogs with their people and clearing out the morning's tension. In the teachings about the Noble Path, and particularly about right view, we have the chance to learn about skillful behavior. We learn that every moment of every day, we're making our karma. Every response, every single action, and even with our thoughts, we're creating conditions for the moments that follow. After the hike, we decided to go to the hotel pool for a swim. It too was elegant, another light-filled sanctuary. Despite the heavy smell of chlorine, it was very beautiful. Suddenly, I felt guilty for all my entitled thoughts and cravey behaviors, and for subjecting John to my sullen attitude to begin our anniversary weekend together. At the pool, I thought of a teaching from one of the Sayadaws from Burma, who said, until we see our unskillful behaviors, we simply remain ignorant. But seeing them means we have an opportunity to engage with them mindfully and almost demands that we do so. If we've received these teachings, we can see the manipulative and grasping nature of the mind and learn that we can shift into a neutral and more peaceful place. And it's this letting go that actually brings deeper and longer lasting happiness. So as I reflected, it felt good to realize that I had a perfectly natural, but not so skillful reaction to the brick wall. It brought a batch of stormy weather into my mind, but next time I've promised myself I'll navigate things differently, let go a little faster, and check that online receipt more carefully. So hopefully this real life story illustrates how the Buddha Dharma teachings are still so applicable to contemporary life. All these hundreds and hundreds of years later, they are fresh and real and excellent advice. The teachings on understanding suffering are especially helpful since I get to see over and over, it seems, how I create and am complicit in my own stormy weather, stress, craving, and unhappiness. The fact is, a certain percentage of things do not go as we plan or as we wish. And that percentage changes constantly based on factors out of our control. Being nimble with our wise responses shortens the time spent being angry, blaming others, or wasting time willing things to be different. This past weekend, I realized, although I've been studying the Dharma for decades, I'm still deepening my understanding of the very first teaching of the Buddha, the teaching that suffering is inherent in life. Tathagata is what the Buddha called himself, which means one who is thus, tatha, gone, gata. In other words, he was already on the other side of this river of difficulties in life, reaching back to us, giving us the teachings as a raft, hoping to help us cross over these inevitable challenges and reach the peaceful and wise place of letting go. Tathagata is reported to have repeatedly said, if you can understand the Four Noble Truths, really get them, then you've got the whole teaching. You will be free from suffering. So, a quick review. The first noble truth is that there is suffering. The second noble truth, that there is a cause of suffering, which is clinging and craving. The third noble truth is that there is an end to suffering. And the fourth noble truth is the way to the end of suffering, also known as the Eightfold Path. So suffering, cause, end, path, Four Noble Truths. The Dharma in daily life helps me laugh and lighten up when I look back on situations and say how easily I get an idea in my head and I completely cling to it and cause myself so much stress when things are different than my ideas of them. So back to the poem again, as far as expecting nothing, as Mrs. Alice Walker's opening poem advises, I think there are two possible ways to go about that. The first one is to take it to heart and really daily practice surrendering over and over and over on a day-to-day basis. And a second way might be to have extremely adverse circumstances teach us how to surrender. We don't know what's going to happen, do we? And I would prefer to practice surrendering my ideas and expectations and hope that adverse circumstances do not force me to surrender to things as they are. In this way, I might soften my mind's grip on planning and expectations. Our formal practices of sitting and walking are designed to help us be with these smaller challenges I mean, just sitting is a small challenge sometimes. If we can be with that, it's a way to cultivate and deliver resilience for these inevitable larger challenges. Tathagata also reportedly told us that all things are impermanent and that even the Dharma teachings are to be held very lightly. He probably foresaw that things could get legalistic, that folks could argue about this way is correct or that way is correct, and arguing about things is not really skillful. He instructed us to hold it all lightly. In fact, let it go as much as possible. Simply let it go. Reframe, be flexible, be easily satisfied. Flow like fluid in the river of life. When we take time to sit with things like this, we can really see that life is just a flowing experience, just moments blooming and fading in quick succession. Moments blooming and fading in quick succession. Sometimes it seems we're busy creating log jams with our expectations and resentments. I know I can certainly do that. I have also learned, however, how to not do that. We can quickly break up the log jams when we create one, kind of like chainsaw Dharma, seeing unskillful behaviors and breaking them skillfully down, taking them apart and clearing them out with mindfulness, forgiveness, kindness to ourselves and others. In ending, I realized on the anniversary trip that not taking things personally is a true joy, a freedom, a blessing. To remember that it will all be gone one day soon helps me feel gratitude. Floating lightly and mindfully feels so much better than being contracted around the way that I think things should be. So let's ask ourselves, how can we be more nimble with our wise responses? How do we self-correct easily instead of easily correcting others? Being kind and letting go is the way, not resisting, surrendering to the flow of what is the practice. Being kind when we practice makes it extra good medicine, especially for those of us who tend to be extremely discerning, which is code for judgy. May we all continue to bravely work with whatever is unfolding for us individually and collectively. May the joy and the insights from living these Buddha Dharma teachings continue to show themselves to us like bright fireflies on a summer night, just like tonight. Thank you for your listening.